Welcome everyone back for another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son George. I was my mother's caregiver when she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Unfortunately, she passed on 1/1/2020, but we started together for Sharon.com in her memory. And I have to say, today's guest is somebody who I'm really grateful for her time because she means the world to so many, including myself. She might not know it yet, but now she does. But what she does, what she represents, and the entire organization, something again we mentioned earlier, I want the world to be aware. Obviously, you're doing incredible work without me, but if we could even just reach one person today that might not know of PMD Alliance, then feel like we've changed the world for the better. So I wanted to welcome you, Andrea, and I mean, it's really not just an honor, but a pleasure, and I'm so excited to share all the things you do with the world.
Thank you, George. My pleasure to be here. I mean, you've interviewed everyone, so for you to say such nice things about me and PMD Alliance means a lot. Thanks.
I'm really excited. And, it's interesting because each person is unique and each organization brings something different. And I told myself, just do one of these a month. But then every time I see such incredible stories and journeys and and foundations, it's like, George, I got to keep going. So eventually I'll have to cut back maybe next year. But again, thanks again. Maybe you could start us off by showing, or not showing, but telling us a little bit about your connection with the Parkinson's community, because we're going to get a lot more in depth, I hope, about the Alliance, but I'm always curious, and I'm sure everybody listening is, so maybe if you have a special connection.
Yeah, so I got my connection to the Parkinson's community as a volunteer originally, and actually with PMD Alliance. So our scope is all movement disorders, in addition to Parkinson's, and my family has essential tremor. My grandfather, my dad hasn't officially been diagnosed, but it's been, something that we're familiar with in our family. And I started as a volunteer with PMD Alliance and just loved the community. I loved the organization, the founder, and the staff, and so just got more and more involved. I have worked here now for over 6 years and have done almost every role as the organization has grown, and it is my honor now to lead it as CEO.
No, I appreciate it. It's always interesting to hear the background and how you got started, because someone listening might be out there and want to not take your job, but at least try to volunteer and join the community. And maybe now we could get into a little bit about PMD. If you can tell us where it's located. I had the honor and luck a little that Michael J. Fox Foundation had the IQ event in South Florida. They haven't been back here in some time, and it's they have more presence, I guess, nationally, but not in South Florida. So it was really amazing. And what I really think is unique is their events bring everybody together, which I love. Instead of it's not really competition, because as you might know, I don't allow money, I don't accept it. So today we're saying, anyone listening, please support PMD Alliance. If you're sending something in memory of my mother, donate it to directly PMD Alliance. I do this again because I don't want anyone to ever feel alone like I did as a caregiver, or my mother as a individual diagnosed with Parkinson's, but I just want to support all of you. So I'm going to just take a moment to share. Before we do get started, I want to say I have been following PMD Alliance for years. I'd say about four. I share your organization on our website under partnership, so everyone in the world knows. And again, Anissa was a staff of your amazing foundation or organization, and she actually interviewed with me about a year ago. It's scary how fast the time goes, but if everybody listening wants to go to togetherforsharon.com, just click interviews and you'll be able to see a lot more about the background of her, and also of the how to reach out to PMD Alliance. And the one thing also that I love that you mentioned is it's not just for Parkinson's, because there's so many Parkinsonians and other illnesses that I wish we could find a cure for. Unfortunately, Parkinson's hit our family hard, but I've done about 800 interviews around the world for people with Parkinson's, and we just a year ago started covering, cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's, ALS, and everything, because I want a cure for it all. So maybe now I could just kind of give you the floor if you'd like to talk really a little bit about the history and all your knowledge. And if you want, feel free to tell me, you're the boss here. Direct me if you want me to share anything. I'll probably be scrolling a little as you talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yes, I love your mission as you pull up ours, that you don't want people to feel alone. That is so aligned with what we do. And as I mentioned, we serve all movement disorders. So there are some, I mentioned essential tremor already. There's, 8 to 10 million Americans with that. And there's some ultra rare movement disorders where 1 in 10 million people have it. And we don't want anyone to feel alone. And we also think there are shared experiences and shared learnings. You can compare and contrast the different disease journeys and resources. And we want to be able to provide connection, community, education, and inspiration for everyone. So if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see I think at the bottom, you'll see our ecosystem graphic, which is a great place to, okay, if you click on ecosystem and history in the blue bar, you'll get there. There you go. I thought it was all connected.
Okay. I'm getting
Uh,
used to this navigation thing.
Yeah, yeah. If you scroll down to that visual,
Oh,
um, the and if you click on it, I think it gets bigger. But the ecosystem is kind of the North Star of our work. It's how we see the world. So any complex degenerative disease requires it's not just a matter of take your medicine on time and you're all set. You need a medical team, you need your family connected, you need a greater community, you need allied health providers, therapists. And so the scope of our work is all of the above. We want to provide information and resources for each of these networks. We want to connect people living with movement disorders so they can build their own networks. And then we also serve as communication in between to make sure that what people are experiencing, the pain points and gaps in knowledge that they have living with the disease. Do doctors even know that? Do physical therapists even know that? So we see ourselves as being that connector, and it's a pretty big scope, a lot to do, and we accomplish that through partnerships. As you mentioned, the event that you met my colleague Anissa, alliance is in our name, and we lean into that. It's not about one organization or another over the other, and you have to pick uh, one foundation and marry them or anything like that. There's everyone has complex needs and they change over time, so we really do think let's all partner together. PMD Alliance never wants to duplicate, so if there's someone out there doing something amazing, we don't need to come up with our version of the same. Instead, we'd rather explore what's missing and create some new things. So um, I'll I sometimes the ecosystem model is best explained through examples. So I'll share some of our programs. So when let's see, in that community network. So okay, right up top, exercise groups and support groups. Maybe this was true for your mom, but your local support group, your local exercise group, that becomes your extended family. That's who you're working out with on a weekly basis, sometimes a daily basis, your support group. Those are your peers who you're going to with your victories and your vents. And we saw a need for those exercise group leaders and those support group leaders to be able to learn from each other, connect with each other, know that they're not alone. And across the country, there's someone in their shoes running a group just like theirs. And what are their best practices? What are their tips and tricks? So every 2 years, we have an event called the All In Summit. And we invite all of those community leaders. If you run a support group, if you run an exercise group, if you have a podcast, we invite them to all get together to learn and get inspired. So that's coming up in November in Austin, Texas. And you are very much invited, George, as well as all of your listeners here. And again, it's just, there's a lot of educational programs for Parkinson's. We're very lucky in that space. But we saw a need, kind of a specialty gap in what's out there, and so created a program to serve that.
And one thing I really enjoy about the graphic that we're looking at is how you show how many people are impacted by many disorders. And some people think it's just the individual diagnosed, but it's not. It's the family, it's the caregivers, plus it's also the community. And as you know, unfortunately, Parkinson's is one of the fastest growing neurodegenerative diseases in the world now. I was shocked to find out just 2 years ago when I learned about the World Parkinson Congress for the first time, which is another issue that I'm trying to bring awareness to them because I admire them. But to know there's 10 million people in the world was kind of heartbreaking. And that's what motivated me to interview the 800 individuals it's growing. I don't know how we got to that, but I think what you do is so unique and important. And I thank you also for that. And then I wanted to show everyone again, please go to pmdalliance.org. And here you can see the ecosystem, which I love. It sounds like we need to make a restaurant after this and have this picture on every table, and really, because it's so important. And now we can, I guess, talk about some of the programs possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. So we recognize that everyone's needs are unique and different. And as I mentioned, since we're serving the entire ecosystem, there's a lot of diversity in our audience. So we want to create a smorgasbord of options where if you want to go deep and learn about Parkinson's symptoms or Parkinson's medications, we have information for that. If you want to learn about, lifestyle changes and wellness and how you can, optimize your nutrition after a diagnosis, we have things for that. So our programs are online as well as in person. We partner with local community groups to do 10 regional workshops around the country. And we are very passionate about customizing what that specific community needs, highlighting the resources that they have. We know that we are there, one day to help organize a program, an event, but people are living there the rest of the 364 days of the year. So we want to connect them to what's going on in their town, in their city, in their county. And plus it's been such an honor, and I think in reviewing your website we have met some of the same people. There's people doing such interesting things around the country. The visual on the screen, drumming and Parkinson's, art therapy, improv therapy. Every community has something a little bit different. And for your listeners who I think don't want to be alone, I would tell them that there's so much out there. Get out there and explore. Use the interviews that George has put together. Meet the organizations out there. There's a whole community of us just out here ready to help and eager to help.
Thanks. And I have a question because I'm kind of interested, but with support groups, how does it work? Is there one specific, for Parkinson's? Are they all, everyone joined together? We started one. It's only, I started for people who lost a loved one due to all diseases, not obviously just Parkinson's, and it's confidential. It's on Zoom, but just curious, how does that come into play with your support groups?
Yeah, so we want to recruit, inspire, and equip volunteer support group leaders. And then we maintain a database of all the support groups that we meet. So right now, I think the numbers are almost 5,000. So we have a database on our website, and you can search Some are local, some are online, but there's a million different kinds. Some are disease specific, some are purpose specific, like yours with the grief group. And so we recommend that people explore, search around, try things out. You don't always know what you need, so um, uh, visit, check it out, see if, the vibe matches what you're looking for, and know that if it doesn't, don't throw the idea of support groups out the window. Online or depending on where you live in your town, there are a lot of other options for you to try out or start yourself like you did. And we have tools and resources for people who want to start a support group. How do you do it? What do you do? Where do you begin? We have a toolkit, we have office hours. We've put a lot of thought and effort into helping people start and flourish with their own support groups.
I love that. And one thing I also enjoy is the flexibility where individuals around the world can join virtually. I think that's changed the world for so many because, as you know, and any movement disorder or all the areas you cover, some individuals can't get out of the house. My mother was tough towards the end, and we didn't have virtual. I would have loved to have gone through all the things that she would have at least tried, even when the physical part was too tough. So really amazed. Also, we just started, or I started, I always say we, it's just me. But I'm started, and maybe you would be interested. We could always talk in the future, but we now start a new show where it's called Sharon, Q&A with Sharon Sun virtually on the road. So I'm actually zooming in, not live, but like recording 15 to 20 minutes at all different organizations and foundations events as they're going on to kind of show people out there the incredible work you're doing, but now live, and also interviewing one or two people walking by. It's a lot of fun. So maybe that's something because it's
Cool.
unfortunately I've had a lot of, I don't know if you know, but I had a lot of back problems like surgery. So it's tough for me to get out. But now with virtual, it's so incredible. You can like literally be there. So that's hopefully we could expand and I can help if any way I can.
I'd love to.
And again, I love again so many programs. I like this PowerPoint or this I think PowerPoint a lot because it shows right from individuals, that worked with you, some of their quotes, which I find to be really kind of important because it's not just you and I talking. And as a police, I don't know if my background, but I'm a lawyer and a police officer, reserve now. My PhD is in criminal justice, but I thought of policing right here because I remember I remember this guy
You
right
use those
here.
dummies for a different reason.
Yeah, for self-defense, but this is great. I think a lot of people need to be aware out of the Parkinson's community how important fitness is, sports and exercise. And again, they need to really understand all the credible areas of support. And here's a great one that you all offer. Now, maybe we could talk a little bit for a moment about some of the new initiatives and also how individuals out there listening can get involved.
Sure. Well, we do a lot, but I figured I should just choose one to talk
Yeah.
about. And this is another um, gap in care that we identified. So the program is called the Proactive Brain Health Alliance. And as diagnostic tools, research into biomarkers, as we're learning more about Parkinson's and, many other neurological diseases, um, they're getting diagnosed earlier. People at risk for these diseases are getting identified earlier. And we saw a gap in education for this population. People, you don't have an official Parkinson's diagnosis yet, but maybe you have a skin biopsy test that shows that you have abnormal alpha synuclein. Maybe you are acting out your dreams, or you've lost your sense of smell, or maybe there's a genetic risk. And at that point, you don't need, Parkinson's 101. You don't have an official diagnosis, we don't want people going down that dangerous, scary rabbit hole of Google MD, Dr. Google, where you just start searching all of the terrible things that could happen to you. But what are the proactive things that you could do? How can you learn about neurological health, exercise, as you mentioned, nutrition, things that you can do to keep your cognition sharp? And we wanted to create a space where maybe these folks who are at risk or interested can do something about it. So the Proactive Brain Health Alliance it has two components. So educational sessions all online. So once a month, and we cover things like the one last month was who is at risk for Parkinson's. Next month we're covering lifestyle medicine, and we have a whole series planned, sleep and nutrition and exercise, many facets of that. Um, and every quarter, we have a discussion group led by one of our licensed clinical social workers, where after consuming that information, it provides people a place where they can talk about it. So we're excited. It's a just launched about a month ago, and it has been, it was born out of need of people who I don't quite have Parkinson's yet, but I don't just want to sit around passively and worry or Google or, whatever anxiety takes, however it manifests itself. What can I do? So that was kind of the genesis of the program, and we're really excited to build it.
I appreciate it and also really enjoy the many areas that you offer, such as this app. And I stopped here just to show everyone to sign in for the PD&Me app. And also, maybe you could mention how people can reach you, but how important it is on social media. I see you all. I actually shared a post from your alliance just before we met. It's not because we're meeting, but just because I do see a big presence online, whether LinkedIn or YouTube, I believe, and also Instagram, Facebook. So I think that's so important because again, it's for awareness. But is there other areas or ways that individuals can reach you?
Yeah, so our website is pmdalliance.org, and we have all of those social media channels that you mentioned. Usually I think our handle everywhere is pretty much PMD Alliance. And I'll share with the team that you follow our channels. That will mean a lot. Sometimes you're just out there, sharing content and you don't really know if anyone's listening. So appreciate that you are a follower of ours, and we see those, our social media channels, kind of like the mission of your podcast and your blog, and to reach new people, those who are starting to dip a toe, searching, what's happening to my family, that they can find a evidence-based, positive, inclusive place to land.
Oh, thank you. That's amazing. And I wanted to shift a little bit more about Andrea. This is
Yeah.
my favorite part, and it's not even the response, but I love hearing what people say when I say the first question. Can you list 3 words that describe who you are?
3 words that describe who I am. Um, I would say um, peaceful.
That's a nice, I like that.
I aim to be a beacon of solace in a crazy world, whether it's at work or at home. And that's just kind of what motivates me to, move through the world, to just kind of bring a little bit of zen in a chaotic world.
Mhm.
I would say empathetic. I'm a big softie, and I think one of my superpowers is probably not just putting myself in other people's shoes, but feeling myself living their reality, and makes it for a very interesting world when, as you meet people and learn their stories and hear what they're doing and passionate about. And my third word, um, mm, let's see. Um,
You're doing amazing. Usually I get the first response is eh. Like they're like, what? They can't even get to the first one. So
okay, because I was
you're already
feeling
doing
bad
amazing.
about
No, I love
two
it.
out of three.
That's okay.
So you'll let me off the hook with two
Yes,
out of three?
you're allowed to pass, even though I'm an attorney and a cop and I can arrest you, teach you, and then get you out. You're not here or not. That's not a
Full
problem.
service here.
Here's another one I love. I guess it's because I wrote it, but just kidding. What is one moment or one most memorable moment that stands out through most of your work so far with awareness that you could share?
Yeah. Okay, one moment that stands out. So we didn't talk about it in the interview, but PMD Alliance, we have an annual medical conference for healthcare providers. And what's a professional moment that stands out? The first year that I took over as CEO, part of the role was okay, Andrea, like you're on the microphone, you're gonna have to, welcome everyone and kick this off and have the spotlight on you. And I was very nervous about that. I'm not a huge attention seeker. I like public speaking, but I just don't, I don't know. I'm maybe more humble. Maybe that's my third word for your previous question,
Oh,
but
thank you. We'll
I
go
was
back.
really nervous about it. And so I will always remember all of that, all of the anxiety leading up to it and the practicing and the, sweaty armpits, but then finally being on stage with the microphone and looking out. And yes, it was an audience full of, very impressive physicians and nurse practitioners, but it was also people who just really care about the same community that I do, people like your mom. And so it took it from this, fear and anxiety to, hey, like, they're just like me. I'm among like-minded birds of a feather. So that I probably because of the nerves involved and there was like a literal spotlight on me is very memorable.
Well, you inspire me, and so does everyone. And please say we send our love and support to everyone back at the Alliance too. I wish we had the time to reach everyone, but obviously this is incredible. Here's an important question also. It's a two-part question, but who helps you during times of struggle? I try to bring out the people and loved ones from behind the scenes. Most of the time, as you know, you're the spokesperson, and also all the individuals I've met are incredible, but I always want to kind of shed a little spotlight on those, surrounding you, because this is not easy, and there are some days where I've been, I'm at a live event, walk for Parkinson's Foundation or American Parkinson Disease Association or the Unity Walk we attended. And you're meeting with people who might have lost a loved one like myself or struggling now and their families. So just curious who helps you during times of struggle.
Mhm. That's a great question. My husband is my biggest supporter and support system. He compliments me in so many ways. He is very practical and common sense and efficient. And maybe like you, if you're law enforcement, he's one of those gets there 5 minutes early everywhere. And I can be a little bit more head in the clouds. So he helps bring me down from the clouds, and I help lift him up out of the mud. But we have a great partnership. And um, when I have a hard day, it's definitely nice to come home and have a shoulder to cry on and a pep talk.
Well, we send our love to him too and your whole family because again, I think you're changing the world for incredible reasons and I'm grateful for that. As you know, I was a caregiver. What tips could you give caregivers who might be listening today?
Oh, first of all, I see you, all you caregivers out there. You have the hardest job in the world. My heart goes out to you. I would give the advice, don't suffer alone. There, ask for help. I know that is so much easier to say than actually do, but there's a million ways to ask for help. It can be just joining, George's support group. It can be asking a friend to pick up something for you from the grocery store. It can be you can hire a housekeeper and get help through cleaning services. Don't hold yourself to a past standard of how you used to do things or the best way to do things. You're carrying a heavy load right now, so cut yourself some slack, give yourself some grace. If this was your loved one or your best friend or your kid going through what you are, try to give yourself that advice and put yourself in their shoes. But
Thanks.
that's a great question. But
Uh,
caregivers, such a hard job, rewarding, but really hard. So I see
Thanks.
you and I send you strength and support from afar.
Thanks. And is there something you might have done differently looking back the past 10 years?
Um, let's see. I do you ever look back at the the pandemic lockdown years and think I could
Unfortunately,
have, learned how to knit or like, gotten a master's online or something like that. That's probably, hindsight. Now that we're removed from it, we
what
forget how
topic, what major would you have done it in for the online? IT
I
might
I
have
want
had
to
me.
write a novel one day, so I would love to have gotten my master's of fine arts and,
I think you'd still be able to write that novel even without it. I'll buy it. I'll be the first to buy it.
yes, well, you're a writer, so I'll have to
Okay.
ask you for tips,
Yeah, I
but
mean, I never want, I've written on like the law, constitutional, boring stuff, but I wasn't gonna write one on the Parkinson's world, but I was shocked and a little sad, and I always tell everyone, challenge me if I'm wrong. But when I did a little research, there wasn't one son in the world, like that wrote a book
really,
about losing their mother due to
yeah,
Parkinson's. It's pretty
yeah.
frightening, but that's what it is, and now it's out there, and we're, have a lot more coming, so, but it's not easy, plus I don't allow money donations, so it's not easy because also I'm a self-publisher because unfortunately, you might be aware, maybe you don't have this as much, but with Parkinson's, it's a tough topic that people just aren't aware. So a lot of the publishers don't even want to even talk about it, which is part of the problem. And that's why I was raised and brought up to kind of like kick the door open and don't stop and keep trying. That's the only thing we can do. And if it reaches one person like the show today, we might have changed their life forever. I wish I had this, when I was going through it. Next, as we wrap up, because I do value your time and friendship, and again, today means the world to me and so many that I cannot stop saying it, so I won't. But last two is this one's a funny one, or at least some people struggle. So you are allowed to pass. If you were asked to write a script to a movie about your life story, what would you call it?
Mm,
I always want to change up the questions and make new ones, but everybody loves these. So it's like, it's so unique, everybody's response.
yeah, that is a good question. Okay, what would I name the movie about my life, the script? Um, how about
Whenever I think of Alliance, I think of superhero. So it must be something.
yeah, yeah. Uh, can't wait for tomorrow. Something like that. I don't know.
That's good. Unless today is great, then you might miss today and then we'll be a little passing by.
Yes.
And
Yes,
then
you stumped me. I'm gonna come up with the perfect
that's fine.
answer at like 2 a.m. I'm
That's
gonna
okay.
wake up and have it. So
You can reach out to me
I'll
anytime.
email you if I when I nail it. But
Thanks.
yeah.
And then again, I just so honor for your time today, and I hope we get to do this more. I always tell everyone as we wrap up, this cannot just end today. It's a conversation that has to keep continuing. So please support PMD Alliance. Please support all Andrea does, and also share this, not for me, but just for everybody out there. Just means the world to those diagnosed caregivers and in memory of all those we've lost to all disorders, not just Parkinson. So if you could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, what would they be?
You're not alone. We're a community out here. Come and find us. There's amazing people like George, like Anissa, like my whole team, like my extended ambassador and clinician advisor team. So there's a community full of love and support out there. We're ready for you when you're ready to come find us.
Thank you. And I have a little message for you. We love you. We support you. We care a lot about you, and you're never alone. This is for everyone listening too. I, along with Andrea and the entire alliance, will advocate for you. And I feel together our voices are so much stronger. And I always end by saying I'm just getting started because there's some days that everyone has their own life, their own problems, their own positives and negatives. But when I see your PMD Alliance post and see all the incredible programs, the support, and all it just goes on the list. It makes me kind of jump up even from a hospital bed, literally, when I had back surgery this summer and ankle surgery. And I'm like, you know what, forget this. I have to keep fighting. And you all seeing your social media and all that you do makes me want to just keep going. So I really appreciate your time, your efforts, and all that you do now, in the past, and in the future. So thank you. And we send again our love to everyone at the Alliance because we're thinking of them too.
Will do. Thanks so much, George. This was wonderful.
I appreciate it. I'm forever grateful. And everyone, thanks again for listening. This has been another episode, Q&A with Sharon. Son. Again, please share this. Please support the PMD Alliance and all Andrea does. This can't end here. The fight continues on. National plan to end Parkinson's disease, I always say, might have passed, which is incredible. However, I feel being in that field, the work literally starts now in ensuring that these representatives and all of us do our part and ensure that it's now implemented, which could be another journey in another book. So thank you again, everyone. We send our love. Thanks.